For the first 13 years of my life, I lived the normal life of a boy of a middle-class family. Except my family had one very strange quirk. The men in my family would have a men's-only outing at least once a month. You could count on them being at these outings for every 3-day weekend. My dad would disappear for these weekends by himself until my 17-year-old brother John reached his 13th birthday. After that, John joined my dad on these men's-only outings. Talking to my cousins, I found out that all my uncles by birth or by marriage also disappeared along with any of my male cousins 13 and older. I asked my mom why dad just got up and disappeared for these weekends. It just gives the men a chance to get away and not worry about what is going on in the outside world, she said to me. Then she went on to explain it in more detail. These getaways of your dad's have been going on for 4 generations. Before I married your dad, I was told all about them. Also, I did notice one very important factor. There hadn't been a divorce in this family in 4 generations. As far as I'm concerned, these men's-only weekends keep our family together, and that is all I care about. Do you know what goes on these outings? I asked. Yes, but I don't mind, my mom replied. Your dad comes home happy, and that is all I care about. I then asked a question I dreaded asking. Aren't you worried about dad cheating on you at these outings since it might involve other women? No, I am not. When I married your dad, I signed a contract that as long as I let my husband and my sons go on these outings without questioning them about the outings, I am guaranteed that my husband will stay faithful to me and only me. I have never broken my part of the deal, and so far as I am concerned, your dad has never done so either. When I tried to ask my brother, all he said was, I can't talk about the outings. My dad's words to me were, I can't tell you until the first outing after your 13th birthday. The reason I am telling you this is that my 13th birthday is tomorrow and Labor Day weekend is only 3 days away, so I am about to have my first men's-only outing. Since it was still summer vacation, school hadn't started, the first thing I did after I awoke on my birthday was to meet with my Uncle Ben by marriage, who happens to be a lawyer by trade. Neither my father nor brother was present at this meeting. Dean, I want to explain some things to you, Ben started. It's about the men's-only outings, right? I asked. Yes, it is. I'm not going to tell anything about the weekends. You will have to find out about them this weekend, he said. Then why are we sitting here and talking? I asked. Mainly it is to get the paperwork out of the way, he informed me. What paperwork would be required to go someplace? I wanted to know. To begin with, we need to set up your trust fund, then sign your contract with the other male members of the family, Ben said. What trust fund? This is the first time I have heard that I have a trust fund, I said. Each male member of the family under the age of 21 has a trust fund. On your 21st birthday it will hand it over to you. That is, if you don't break the contract you signed today. How much is the fund? What contract? The one I make with the members of the family? $100,000 is the amount of the trust fund, and yes, the contract is between the family members. Why would they take away the trust fund? I wanted to know. The contract says if you talk about our outings with anyone outside the male members of the family, it will mean the termination of your trust fund. We also don't talk about the outing with each other outside of the lodge. You don't see your father and brother talking about them. They don't even talk about it when they're alone with each other, Ben informed me. What's so secret about these outings? Who set them up, anyway? I asked. I can't tell you why all the secrecy. Your great-great-grandfather Micah started the outings along with his brothers and the other male members of the family. I have noticed that you and my uncles who married into the family go to these outings. Why is that? I inquired. We are invited to the outing just after our marriage into the family. We also have to sign a contract, and a trust is established which can be collected upon our 8th anniversary. So if my sister doesn't marry, she will never see any money? If a girl doesn't marry before their 25th birthday, she will be given the same amount. What happens if I just say, to hell with the trust fund and spill the beans? There are other penalties, but I haven't heard about anyone wanting out of the outings. I suggest you go to your first outing before you even think about breaking the contract. When I was told about these outings, I thought it was a crazy idea. That was until my first outing. Then a year after the marriage, I realized that they help keep your aunt and I very much in love. It also helps with the relations between father and son. Your cousin Brian and I have been having a terrible time lately. I have seen how these outings have worked with others, but I can't take Brian until the 9th of November. That will be the date of Brian's first outing. There is a calendar. I am marking the days off till then. We talked for another hour before Uncle Ben slid the contract over the table for me to sign. As he was leaving, Uncle Ben said, "I'll see you Friday, Dean." There was something else, but I didn't hear it. Now the waiting was so bad for me. It was as if every day was Christmas Eve. As kids, we all remember having trouble getting to sleep on Christmas Eve. Finally, Friday arrived. Now I started counting down the hours. I knew exactly when we would be leaving for the outing. My dad always left shortly after 4 in the afternoon. I realized something while I was waiting around and I asked John about it. Shouldn't we be packing our bags? We don't need a thing. Everything will be provided, he replied. It seemed like the clock was standing still. Sometimes it felt an hour had passed and it was only 5 minutes since the last time I looked. Finally the clock chimed 3. 1 hour to go. Just think of the last hour of school before summer vacation starts and multiply it by 10. You can figure out what I was going through. John sat there and watched me fidget. Finally he said to me, "Don't worry, Dean, it will soon be time to leave. When we get to where we are going, you'll know it was worth the wait." Finally, I heard Dad's car in the driveway. "It will take him 10 minutes to change clothes and then we are off," said John. 10 minutes later we were all in the car. Dad, John and I talked like all families would when they were traveling. Despite my leading comments, nothing was said about the outings. For 2 hours we drove, the last half hour we traveled in the deep woods. Finally my dad said, "We are here." "Here? All I see is a barbed wire fence," I said. "The property on the other side of the fence belongs to the family. A mile and a half up this road is the lodge where we will be staying," John informed me. "Since everyone will show up for the weekend, the 3 of us will be sharing my room," my dad reminded my brother. John must have seen the questionable look on my face. When it is a normal 2-day weekend, we usually have separate rooms. Don't worry about sharing a room. It doesn't change a thing. We finally got to the lodge. This wasn't just any lodge. I'd assumed it was a place with only room for 10 guests, but it was large enough to hold over 200 without causing a crowd. "We own this?" I inquired. "The family owns the lodge and the 2,000 acres surrounding it," replied Dad. "That is so we can have complete privacy. Let me tell you more of what my Uncle Ben told me 3 days before. The family is not super rich but very comfortable," Ben said. "If we are rich, why does my family live like we are middle-class citizens?" I wanted to know. My reasoning behind this question was that I have had my middle-class nose rubbed the wrong way by people who have so much money they treat others that don't have any money like third-class citizens. The answer to that question goes back at least 8 generations. Back then, your ancestor Matthew Smith decided that his children should make their own way in the world, not sponge off his shirt tails. He set up the estate so the whole family has the money, not just one individual family member, Ben informed me. "So when I am done with college I will start with nothing?" I asked. "No. First, you'll have your trust fund. Second, the family will pay for your college education for as long as it takes. That includes medical school if you so desire." Someone must have told him I was leaning towards becoming a doctor. "So, there won't be any student loans to pay back. Third, you can borrow money from the family fund without worrying about the bank foreclosing on you. These loans will be paid back, but when you can afford to do so, not when you are required to. Both men and women have the right to the college and loan money along with widows or widowers of the family. The family fortune is something else we don't talk about. There was only 1 car in the parking lot when we drove up. "At least we aren't the first ones here," I said. "The others won't be arriving until 7. Normally everyone gets here as soon as they can." It is only when we bring someone new in that everyone will arrive at a certain time, said my dad. Whose car is that? I asked. It's our great Uncle Walter's. He's the caretaker of the lodge, John answered. I had met my great Uncle Walter once. It was at the funeral of his wife 8 years before. Dad headed directly to our room. The room we are using this weekend is only used when a new family member joins the outing, said my dad as he opened the double doors. What I found when I walked in surprised me. The room was enormous. It could hold at least 4 of my bedrooms inside it with room to spare. The size gave me a small shock, but what gave me the biggest shock was the decor. I was thinking the decor would be mainly something like you would find in a hunting lodge. This looked more like my 15-year-old sister Janet's room. There were 3 canopy beds with lacy bed covers, and 3 three-sided vanity table mirror with what looked like makeup on them. The color of the walls was a light pink and the carpet was very blush. Like I said, the room looked like it was meant more for a woman than a man. Dean, we need to sit down and talk, my dad said, pointing to one of the vanity chairs. John, why don't you go into the bathroom and get dressed while Dean and I talk? Sure, Dad, replied John, pulling some things out of the chest of drawers and something I didn't see out of the closet as he left. I want to ask you a question and I want the truth, he said to me. Have you ever tried on your mom's or your sister Janet's clothing? I tried to mumble my reply. Dean, I want the truth. Have you ever tried on their stuff? He said, almost shouting. I blurted it out. Yes, I have, then my face blushed. Don't worry, you are not in trouble. Your mother and I both know you have, he informed me. I am not sure about Janet, but most likely she knows too. If you know, why haven't you said something before? I asked. For now, let's just say I know and that I am pleased with you for trying on those clothes. Then he asked, did you like wearing them? Yes, I did. They felt very nice and comfortable in a strange way, I answered. Then I asked, why did you ask me if I like them or not? I just wanted to know if you would like to wear them now, he asked me. Are you crazy? With all of our relatives around? How could I ever explain that I am wearing panties? I just thought you might not want to be out of place. Dad said. Out of place? What are you talking about? I wondered. He didn't say a word as he stood up, unbuckled his pants, and then pulled them down. I just sat there open-mouthed. I didn't say a word for a solid minute. My dad was wearing panties. If you are not wearing panties and the other feminine things, you will be out of place, my dad told me. By the look on your face, you still don't believe me. Let me show you. He then turned towards the bathroom. Joni, are you ready? He asked. Yes, I am, Jenny, replied my brother. I did notice the use of feminine names. The person who stepped out of the bathroom was not the same brother who had gone in there 15 minutes before. A teenage girl came out of the bathroom. Dean, what do you think? Asked the girl. The voice was John's. John! I exclaimed. During the outings, my name is Joni. This is the big secret about the outings. The men of our family get a chance to dress and be their feminine selves while they are here. Why? How? Who? I blurted out. My mind was still in a state of shock. Why? Most men like the feel of women's clothing but are afraid to say or do anything about it. How and who is your great-great-grandfather Micah? He set up these outings when he found out that he and his 2 brothers had the same interest in wearing women's clothing, my dad explained. Do Mom and Janet know about this? It was a question I needed to ask. Your mom does. I told her 3 months into our marriage. It is left up to the husbands to tell their wives. Janet wasn't told but might have figured it out. Her husband might tell her, but that will be up to him. Why would Mom agree to this? I asked. She didn't have much to say since I have been going to these outings since I was 13. She doesn't really care as long as I don't break the 3 rules she set forth. 1. I only dress up at the outings. 2. I don't get involved with any other women. That is an easy one. I love your mom so much that I would never look at another woman sideways. 3. Our sons will be given the choice of joining the outings or not. Explain number 3, please. I needed to know more. I am allowed to bring you and John to the outing one time. After that, it will be your choice to continue to come or not, said Dad. Before I came to my first outing, I'd never even thought of trying on a pair of panties, said John. Then, Dad brought me here and asked me to try it just once. Over the last 4 years and 5 months since my first outing, I have missed only 4 of them. The trust fund, college and loan money will just go away if I don't join the outing? No, they won't. The outings are for those who want to come. No one is forced. The money will be available at the time noted. You will lose the trust and the others if you ever reveal the secret of the outings to anyone. That includes your sister or the girl who you want to marry until after the ceremony. So the question is, are you going to get dressed or are you going to wear the same clothes all weekend? What do you mean by that? I inquired. Where are my things? That chest holds your bras, panties, and the like. The closet holds enough clothes for all 3 of us. Will it all fit? What do you think? The family has been doing this for 4 generations, John said, but I should say, Joni. Dad, don't forget that package from Mom. My dad then went into the walk-in closet and came back with something covered in plastic on a hanger. Your mom thought you might like to wear this tonight. I tried to peek underneath the plastic. Wait until you can put it on, said Dad. I was just a streak of blur as I removed my clothes and opened the top drawer of the dresser, where I found a stack of white panties and bras. Everything was white. Don't I get to wear some colored underclothes? Not for the first year. After that, there will be more variety, said Joni. I picked the panties and bra up from the top of the stack. Looking at the bra, I discovered it was a padded bra. My dad must have seen the questionable look on my face as I picked up my bra. Your bra is padded to give the impression of breasts. Most girls reaching the age of 13 have started showing evidence their breasts are starting to develop. I was very embarrassed as I stood there in front of Dad and my brother. At least you have tried some panties on before, Deanna. I didn't until I was in this very room, Joni told me. Why did you call me Deanna? I asked. I noticed earlier Dad called you Joni and you called Dad Jenny. It is the name you would have been given if you had been born a girl, my dad replied. The tradition is we use our newly given girlish name when we are at the outings. I then turned back to my dresser. I started looking for something I have always wanted to try on, but was afraid to. What are you looking for, Deanna? Asked Dad. My nylons, I replied. You can stop looking, there aren't any. You won't be allowed to wear nylons until you are 14. Also, no heels. Until then, it is knee socks and Mary Janes for you. Why do I have so many restrictions? I really want to know, I said. The reason why is that you are the little darling of the outing. That is, until the next person joins us. That will be Cousin Brian in November. A little disappointed, I asked a question I needed to know, since most girls usually match their dress and knee socks. What color is my dress so I can pick out the right color socks? I am on to your little trick, Deanna. You're trying to get a look at that dress again. You can pick your socks out after you put on the dress, said Joni. For the first time I noticed Dad had left the room. He is in the bathroom getting dressed herself, Joni replied. Trying another tact, I said, I am ready to put on the dress. Not yet. You need to put on a slip and then a slight touch of makeup. Makeup? You mean I get to wear makeup? I inquired. A little blush, lipstick and eyeshadow but nothing fancy, my sister replied. At that moment, a perfect copy of my mother walked out of the bathroom. Hi girls! It was my dad. Please Deanna, don't tell your mom that I tried to look like her, my dad asked. I won't, Jenny, remembering what Joni called Dad earlier. The two of them then showed me how to apply my makeup. We will show you how to apply your makeup this weekend, but the next time you'll be on your own, Deanna. Jenny told me. Show Deanna the letter from Mom while you and I beautify our faces, Joni reminded Jenny. I almost forgot. As she turned towards me, Jenny handed me a letter. Your mom wrote this to you, Deanna. My dearest Deanna, I write this letter out of love for you. I have known what has been going on at these outings since before Joni was born, and I totally agreed to their purpose. I have found that your dad has come to understand the woman's point of view better than any man I know. This has helped our marriage stay on solid ground, which is why I hope they help you come to grips with the problems you and your dad are having. I hope you enjoy the dress I sent along. I know you enjoyed it when Janet used to wear it. Yes, it is the same dress that Janet used to wear. With all my love, Mom. Before Jenny and Joni could stop me, I had the plastic off of the dress. It was the dress of my dreams. I'd lost count of the number of times I drooled over it whenever Janet wore it. I even suggested Janet wear it when she asked Mom what to wear at my 11th birthday party. It is as close to transparent as you can get without actually being transparent. Now I knew why I needed a slip. It was light yellow in color and had a band just underneath the breasts. Above the band, the fabric would snugly show off the breasts. Underneath the band hung the free-flowing skirt. If the light hit it just right, you could see a shadow image of the body of the person wearing it. Both Jenny and Joni turned around and watched as I stepped into my dress. I didn't know what the look on my face was, but if it matched the feeling I was having, it must have been one of sheer bliss, since I can't even begin to describe my feeling of exhilaration. Now for the piece de resistance, said Jenny as she opened a wig box. She then withdrew a light brown, almost blonde wig with so many curls I couldn't even begin to count them all. As the wig was being placed onto my head, a bell went off that could be heard throughout the lodge. What was that? I asked. The others have arrived and have had time to get dressed. The bell is used to call us all together in the dining hall, answered Joni. Shouldn't we be going? I had no problems about meeting all of my male relatives while I was dressed as a girl when they too were femininely attired. Not yet. There will be a second bell in 10 minutes. That allows everybody a chance to gather in the dining hall so we can formally and properly present you to the others, replied Jenny. How many will be here tonight? I asked. For a 3-day weekend and a new member joining, around 90% of your male relatives above the age 13. Yes, all dressed like we are. A question had been bothering me for some time, so I finally asked, do any of them cross-dress at home and do any dress full-time? There are about 5 or 6 who dress up some. They mostly do it only with their wives present. Uncle Walter is the only one who dresses full-time. That is one of the reasons he is the caretaker of the lodge, answered Jenny. Jenny, you forgot the photograph, Joni exclaimed. Photograph? You are going to take a picture of me? I asked, a little shocked. Dressed like this? Everyone has their photo taken for the family photo album at their first outing, replied Jenny. The album goes all the way back to Micah and his brothers. This way you can see what everyone looked like the first time, said Joni. The bell went off the second time. That is our cue. Turning towards me, my dad had further instructions. Deanna, I want you to wait outside the dining hall until I call you in. Don't worry, all first-timers have to stand outside and wait, Joni told me. So, there I stood as my cross-dressed father and brother went into the dining hall. I didn't have to wait for too long. Ladies, I would now like to present to the men's only outing, my daughter, Deanna, announced my dad. I then walked into a room filled with my cross-dressed male relatives. A spotlight shone upon me as I walked through the door. As you can see, she has accepted our lifestyle here at the outings. Before I could head to one of the tables, my dad said, Deanna, please stay where you are. The others want to come up and introduce themselves to you. Most of them I knew just by their guy names. They used both their masculine and feminine names. The one I knew right away was my Uncle Ben. Hi Deanna, I am your Uncle Betty. The last one to introduce herself was Rose, who had married my cousin Charlotte this last June. I am glad you are here. It was my first outing last month. With you here, I am no longer the newest little darling, she said. That was how I started with my family outings. We men just acted like women without worrying about anyone finding out our secret. We spent the time doing womanly things around the lodge and even did things outside the lodge, but still within the grounds. Like swimming in our private little lake in one-piece bathing suits of bikinis. Or ice skating on own ice rink in our feminine ice skating outfits. The outings were for us to be women around others like us. By my second outing, 1 month later, my dad and I had worked out our problems. Even Janet and I were fighting less. That was 25 years ago. Today, I am driving towards the outing but with a couple passengers. My twin boys just had their 13th birthday a week before. I became what I always wanted to be, a pediatrician. The family paid for all of my schooling as well as a no-interest loan to help set me up in practice. I told my wife the truth about the outings 2 weeks after we were married. I offered to stop attending them if she so desired. She was wise enough to realize how much they helped our relationship and marriage, so raised no objections. She even likes to have me dress up at home once in a while when no one is home and we have some private time together. We are still as deeply in love as the day I married her. My brother John now lives on the West Coast, so he rarely attends the outings. It's mainly on the 3-day weekends that Joni will show up. It will be a while before he brings someone to their first outing as he has only 3 beautiful daughters. He will be there this weekend to welcome the newest members. Janet's husband will be there looking forward to 6 months from now when his son turns 13. Janet told me just before she got married that she had known the truth about the outings even before I did. I am sorry to say that both of my parents were killed by a drunk driver 3 years ago. At least my 2 sons and daughter got to know them. The big question is how to tell my sons that their dad likes to dress up in women's clothing. When my dad told me, he had already gone through the ordeal by breaking the news to my brother. "Dad, could you please tell us more about these outings?" asked Denny. Cousin Brian, who like his father Ben studied law and joined his father's practice, didn't tell us much at that meeting we had with him. He wasn't supposed to. His job was to handle the paperwork about the trust fund and so forth, I answered. "I don't see why we have to come anyway," said Danny. "It is a family tradition for one thing. I have been going to these outings for over 25 years. They go back 5 generations. Besides, they are a lot of fun. I try to make them happy about coming. I'll make you a deal. If you don't like the outings, this is the only one you'll have to come to. But if we don't come, we lose the trust fund, right?" asked Danny. "The trust fund is yours as long as you don't talk about the outings to anyone. That includes all of our relatives, including me, outside of the outing grounds. Don't worry, we won't talk about the outings." "Is it true that we won't have to use the trust fund for college?" asked Denny. "We can spend the money any way we want after our 21st birthday? The family will pay for your college like they did for me all through med school. They even helped me set up my practice." I glanced over and watched Danny as he moved his hands back and forth. "What are you doing, Danny?" "I am driving the car I am buying on my 21st birthday, he answered me. "You can stop dreaming. We are here," I informed them. "Dad, how big is this place?" asked Denny. "Around 2,500 acres. It surrounds a small lake we will be using for swimming and other stuff." "How many of our relatives will be here?" asked Danny. "Since it is only a 2-day weekend, I figure maybe 75. When we come up for a 3-day weekend, the number is almost 200. There are relatives that don't have time to make it for only 2 days. Like Uncle John," said Denny. "But you told us that he is going to be there this weekend. He is making a special trip because it is your first outing. I have asked him to meet us there." "Why did you ask him to meet us there? Are we going to be the first ones there?" asked Danny, who had a bad experience of arriving too early for a birthday party and then making a fool of himself before the party had even started. "It is the way it is done. The first timers come an hour earlier. The others will be here at 7, I told the worried Danny. As we drove into the parking lot, I saw 2 cars. Since the caretaker only had one, I knew the other was John's. "At least your Uncle John is here." I then said to myself, I hope he is ready for what I asked him to do. Dad, will we have to spend all the time with you and the other old folks, or can we play with kids our own age? Asked Denny. The first night we usually spend the time all together. After that you are on your own. Will Kirk be there? Asked Danny. Kirk, who is Brian's son, had come to his first outing 2 months before. Definitely. His dad told me Kirk marks off the days on a calendar to the date of each outing. Also, if there is an outing and I can't come, you'll most likely ride up with Kirk and Brian. That is, if you come to any more outings. By the same token, Kirk will ride with us if his father can't make it. Knowing that there will be at least one boy their age at the outings perked my boys up. As we passed through the lobby, Denny asked, shouldn't we check in? No need to. Only the master bedroom is assigned to a newcomer. After the first outing, you'll be assigned to a 2-person room. The 2 of you will share a room like you have wanted to all of your lives. Both boys were astonished by the size of the master room. I think they were more amazed about the size than the contents. I also heard a small tap on the bathroom door that neither boy heard. The tap told me that Joni was in place waiting for my call. Please take a seat, I told the boys. Then I asked, do you notice anything different about this room besides the size? Taking a minute to look around, they both said almost in unison. This room looks like it is more suitable for a woman than a man. All the rooms of the lodge look like this one, I told them. Why is that? Asked Danny. It is the secret about the outings, I said. Then I asked, would like to see what I mean? Yes, please show us, answered Denny. I turned towards the bathroom and said, Joni, could you please come out and say hi to Danny and Denny? Who is Joni? You told us this was a men's-only outing, said Denny. Mom also told us that you fool around with other women, said Danny. Before I could say a word, Joni entered the room. Hi boys. The boys couldn't help notice that Joni's voice was the same as their Uncle John's. For a solid minute both boys stared at Joni open-mouthed. Then in unison, Uncle John. That's right, but here at the outings I am your Uncle Joni, said Joni. I then said, this is the secret of our family's all-male outings. It gives the men of the family a chance to dress up as a woman in security and safety without the whole world finding out. You mean, you want us to dress up like girls? Denny almost screamed. Yes, I do, just for this weekend. I want you to see what it is like. If you still hate the idea afterwards, you won't have to come to any more outings. All I ask is, please try it once. What if we decide we don't want to try it? Asked Danny. You will be out of place. Everyone else will be dressed up. Besides, there are no other male clothes besides the ones you are wearing, I told them. Does Kirk like dressing up? Asked Denny. He certainly does, I replied. He's also been looking forward to your first outing. Denny then turned towards Danny. Let's try it just once. I have always wanted to find out how it felt to dress like a girl. Then he turned back to me and asked, dressing like a girl doesn't mean we are queer, does it? John's not queer and I am certainly not queer. Look at all the fathers and sons who have been coming to the outings. They all can't be queers. Still unsure of what he was going to do, Danny asked, does Mom know the truth about all of this? Yes, she does. I told her 2 weeks after we were married. I also offered to stop attending the outings if she objected to the idea. She then decided to give it a try. She has never regretted giving me permission to come. It also gives her time by herself, and no worries about me chasing other women. I am willing to try it once and only once, said Danny. Then he said something totally unexpected. To tell you the truth, there has been a dress I have always wanted to see what it felt like to wear. Which one is that? If we don't have it, one of the others might, said Joni. It is a dress meant for a younger girl, but I have always liked it, said Danny. Stop teasing us and tell us what kind it is, I said. It is the dress I have seen in the Disneyland commercials. It is worn by Cinderella, or is it Sleeping Beauty? And the girl standing next to her is wearing the same exact dress. Thinking it over a second, I went to closet and searched. Within a minute, I found what I was looking for. Holding it out to show Danny, I asked, "Like this?" "That's it. That is the dress," Danny exclaimed. "It's even the same light blue color." I knew right then and there I had one of my boys hooked. Now for the other. I then turned towards Denny and asked, "Is there any type and color of dress you'd like to try on first?" "Not really," Denny replied. "I never really thought about wearing a dress." "I have an idea," I said. "If it is okay with you?" "What?" Denny asked. "How about a copy of the dress that I wore at my first outing?" I asked. "If you think I should," said Denny. I went back into the closet and came out a minute later with the dress. From the look that showed in Denny's eyes, I knew I had just hooked my other son. I watched my sons as they put on their panties and bras. I knew right then and there I would have company whenever I drove to an outing. Sorting through the wigs, I found a match for the hairstyle in the commercial for Danny. I also gave Denny the same wig I had worn 25 years before. "Dad, I have a question," said Denny. "What is it, dear?" I asked. "If Uncle Wyatt attends these outings, that means that Josh will be attending too?" "Josh is Janet's son." "Yes, he will attend his first meeting 2 weeks after his 13th birthday, but the outings after that will be up to Josh," I told Denny. Joni finally said something. I can't put my finger on it, but there is something in this room that is out of place. She then asked the girls, "Can you girls help me figure out what it is?" Unable to stop giggling like teenage girls, they both answered, "It's Daddy, he's still dressed like a man." I started for the closet when Joni stopped me. "Deanna, your dress is hanging in the bathroom. How did you know which dress I was going to wear tonight?" I wanted to know. "I didn't pick it out, someone else did," Joni answered. In the bathroom, I found a dress on a hanger covered in plastic, with a note attached which read, "My dearest, I can't be there in person tonight as you present our daughters. I thought I should do something to help with this occasion. So I thought this dress would be a perfect gesture on my part. Your ever-loving wife Sandra." The dress was like one of those you see worn by the actresses attending the Academy Awards. As I rushed out to get some of my fancier undergarments, I said accusingly to Joni, "You knew all about this?" "Yes, I did. Who do you think brought that dress up here?" She replied with a smile. As I put on this wonderful dress from my wife, I said to myself, "But I meant it for my wife. I won't forget, and I will come up with a very special way of paying you back for this, and for the life you have let me enjoy." Joni, Denny and Danny could have caught flies when I walked out of the bathroom. All three of their mouths were opened by the shock of my appearance in the dress. I knew we didn't have much time until the first bell went off. "Stop standing there with your mouths open, girls. We need to get your makeup on." In unison they both asked, "Who gave you the dress, Deanna?" "Your mom. She wanted to be a small part of the presentation tonight," I replied. I then showed Denny and Danny how to apply their makeup as Joni went and got the camera. When she returned, she reminded me that I had forgotten something. "Deanna, we haven't given these beautiful young things their new names yet." "Yes, Daddy, what are our feminine names?" asked Denny. "We can call Danny, Danny, but I need a different name." "We will be changing Danny's name too. Denny, your new name is Darlene. Danny, yours is Daphne. We didn't know your sex until you were born, but we knew we were having twins. The names I just gave you were the names your mom and I had picked out if you had been born girls." The first bell rang. "What's that?" asked Darlene. "They are calling the others to the dining hall," I answered. Joni got up and left. "Shouldn't we be going too?" Daphne asked. "Normally one ring will call us to gather, but tonight the first will call the others. The second is to tell us the others are all in the dining hall. This is so I can present my daughters to the whole family. Then each one of the others will come up and introduce themselves to you. They will give you both their given and feminine names." I was one proud father as I watched my beautiful daughters stand in line as the others introduced themselves. I knew for sure that I had passed on my family's legacy. I'll bet that some of you are wondering how my father handled my brother-in-law's first outing. It was the summer after my high school graduation and before I started college. It was just 2 weeks after her marriage to Wyatt when Janet dropped her bombshell. So when do you men plan on taking my husband to one of your outings and dressing him up as a woman? I would like to know so I can plan a weekend without my husband. The only unturned face in the room was my mom's. What are you talking about, dear? Asked my dad. Mom told me what goes on at the men-only family outings that you both go on, Jenny. That's right, Deanna. I even know both of your feminine names, Janet said. She told me before Deanna went on her first outing. Melinda, how could you? My dad asked my mom. Janet kept bugging me about these outings and asking why there wasn't an all-women's family outing. I gave in and told her the truth, answered my mom. I haven't told anyone, and I think it is a wonderful idea. If it even comes close to keeping my marriage as happy as yours, Wyatt can go to these outings every weekend. Janet then said. Besides, I have found some information that will be very useful. What information is that? I asked. Wyatt has played dress up before and liked it. He gave it up because he thought dressing up would make him gay, Janet told us. I have also questioned Wyatt's mom in a roundabout manner and found out what Wyatt's name would have been if he had been born a girl. So what would have been his name? Yvonne. That is what his name would have been, Janet answered before going on to tell us some more. We waited 5 months after the marriage before Wyatt, my dad and Ben sat down and discussed the outings and the trust fund. You mean, I will receive $100,000 on my 8th anniversary? All I have to is attend one of these outings and then not tell anyone what goes on at these men's-only outings? Asked Wyatt. I can do anything I want with money and it doesn't have to be used for the family? The trust fund can be used any way you want to, said Ben. What about the interest-free loans that Janet told me about? Asked Wyatt. They are still available. You are able to borrow money to pay off your student loans, buy a house or even start a business. As long as it involves the family, Ben informed Wyatt. As Wyatt signed the required paperwork he asked. What is so special about these outings? We can't tell you until this weekend, my dad said. From what I have heard, I think you will be attending a lot more than just one outing. My dad asked me, Dean, could you go up early and get dressed? Then wait in the master bedroom's bathroom? Okay, I replied. I arrived at the lodge at 5:30 in my used Ford Pinto. I had bought it with money I had saved along with a small loan from the family to be paid back with my trust fund so I could have a car for college. I'd made it just in time to the bathroom in the master bedroom as Dad and Wyatt walked into the lodge. I could hear every word that was said in the master bedroom. This bedroom is huge, Wyatt commented. And you are telling me it is just for you and me? Yes, it is. We rarely use this room. We do so only when a new member joins us for the first time. I noticed Dean's car in the parking lot. Won't he need to use this room? Asked Wyatt. No, he has a room by himself, replied my dad. Well, we are here. So, what is the big secret that no one is supposed to know about? Wyatt got right to the point. How would like to dress in women's clothes for the weekend? Asked my dad. I couldn't see Wyatt's face, but from the sound of his voice I knew he was a bit shocked. Are you crazy or something? He asked. Or is it part of an initiation to join these so-called outings? No, it is not an initiation, replied my dad. I just thought you wouldn't want to feel out of place. Out of place? How could I feel out of place? Asked Wyatt. When you are the only one dressed like a man while the rest of us are enjoying our feminine side, answered my dad. Feminine side? Wyatt almost shouted. You mean to tell me that these outings are so the men of this family can enjoy dressing up like women? Yep, said my dad. These outings have been going on for 5 generations. The only thing that has changed has been the style of clothes we wear. You mean the cross-dressing has been going on for that long? How can you keep this big of a secret from Melinda? Wyatt asked. Melinda knows all about it. I told her a couple weeks after we are married. Most husbands tell their wives. Some of them play dress up at home when they are alone. How would I ever explain this to Janet? How do I explain to her after 5 months into our marriage that I am a queer, said Wyatt. From the tone of my dad's voice I knew he was a little upset. Let me tell you this just once. Just because a man likes dressing up as a woman does not make him a queer. I know there are queers that like to dress up, but dressing up doesn't automatically make you a queer. As for Janet, she already knows. Melinda told her before Dean's first outing, my dad told Wyatt. You mean to tell me that Dean likes to dress up? Wyatt asked. Yes, he does. He's standing in the bathroom right now to show you. Would you like to see? Asked my dad. Yes, please. Deanna, could you come here, please? I heard my dad call. Deanna? Each of us has a feminine name, said Dad. Do I pick my own or does someone pick it for me? Asked Wyatt. I knew right then and there that we had a new member to the outings. Your name was picked out for you before you were born, replied my dad. How did my mom know about this before I was born? And what is my name? It's Yvonne. Your mom didn't know. Before a child is born, their parents don't know what their sex is going to be. So, most of the time they have a boy's name and a girl's name picked out. If you had been born a girl, your name would have been Yvonne. I then walked through the door. Wow, was all that Wyatt could say for a solid minute. Then he asked, if you can make me look that good, when can we start? We can start as soon as you get out of those men's clothes, I told him. It didn't take Yvonne long to get ready to put on her dress. Will you help me with everything else? Where is the dress that you want me to wear? Both Dad and I helped Yvonne with her clothes so it would be color coordinated with the dress she would be wearing. It is hanging in the bathroom, I told him. I had brought it up with me earlier that day. Along with the dress, Yvonne found a note from Janet. Yvonne, you see, I know all about the outings. I even know the name you will be using. This note is to tell you that I approve. If these outings help make our marriage as happy and good as my parents, you can go to as many outings as you want. Remember during our honeymoon when you commented about a dress a woman was wearing? I thought you were looking at another woman and all you were saying was how much you would like to see me in that dress. What you didn't know was that I brought that dress, but I didn't buy it for me to wear. Enjoy! All my love always, Janet.